In one of my previous videos, we talked about the movie Hoodwinked, an underrated masterpiece that was distributed by a third. Unfortunately, now we have to talk about its sequel, Hoodwinked 2, Good vs. Evil, a film so bad that it killed off the Hoodwink franchise 2 entries in. Honestly, I don't remember much about the movie other than the fat little ding-dongs voiced by ex-SNL cast members and the Burger King toys. Oh yes, they had Burger King toys, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Look at Twitchy.
So is this sequel really that bad? Well, let's find out.
The plot of this movie is that Wolf, Granny, and Twitchy try to rescue Hansel and Gretel from the evil witch. But then Wolf and Twitchy f*** up and it causes Granny to be kidnapped by the evil witch. Also, while I was having Red was training with the Sisters of the Yeah, that's right, that's the real name. And while she's there, someone stole the recipe for the super truffle because it's this movie's version of the Master Emerald. It also doesn't help that they're both MacGuffins that are supposed to be guarded on a floating island that has a weird looking monster. Then Red meets up with Wolf, Nick, and Twitchy, and she's really pissed at Wolf, obviously because it was all his fault. And it's like that for the first half of the movie, with Wolf trying to help Red and Red not wanting him there, with Twitchy being in the middle of it like a child watching their mommy and daddy fight. In the hero's side of the story, our heroes go down to New York to track down Granny's informant, the Golden Heart. Twitchy tries to steal the heart from a giant, and obviously this makes the giant pissed, and him and his rhino minions chase after them. And while that's happening, the Golden Heart reveals to them that the giant gets recipes from Andy Dick. So then they let the giant fall to his doom and they pay a visit to the Andy Dick Bunny. And he tells them that the witch who kidnapped Hansel and Gretel was literally leaving when they just showed up. Yeah, they did that joke. Then Red and Wolf get into another argument, and then Wolf decides to leave because he feels guilty. And Red is all like, wait, that's not what I meant, even though that is the truth. So just like that, Wolf and Twitchy end up leaving Red alone in New York. Did I forget to mention that Red is like 12 years old? Red continues to go and search for a granny in the city, trying to find where the witch went with the help of a cloth that she left behind that says DCT, also known as. Then she bumps into a blind mouse, and the mouse tells her that it stands for Dark Castle Towers. Dark Castle Towers. Really went and pulled names of a hat here, didn't they? Then Red calls Flippers to tell them where Granny is, and the witch's big army raids the Happy Ever After agency. I am not making this up. Then Red, without the help of anyone else, climbs up a building and falls on one of the pigs. So now she's captured by the pigs. Stupid little pigs. Meanwhile, back at the forest, Wolf talks to Twitchy about stuff, and Twitchy tells Wolf that Red needs him because she is a 12-year-old girl alone in the city looking for her grandma. Then the pigs show up and blow up Wolf's house. And having this chase scene that is literally one of the only good parts of this movie, Wolf and Twitchy visit Mr. Flippers at the Happy Ever After agency to see if he's okay, and spoiler alert, he is okay, thank God. Then they go and visit Kurt, and he is the same as he was in the last movie, but here he is better with an axe. They ask Kirk if he can help them break into Dark Castle Towers. Kirk obviously says yes and brings the Happy Yodelers with them, knowing that they're secretly a badass fighting group.
What?
They go in, kick ass, and Red, Wolf, and Twitchy save the kids. Wolf and Twitchy take the kids to the elevator, while Red finds the unfinished mix of truffles, and she figures out the secret ingredient. And the witch captures her, and the little ding-dongs reveal themselves as the real villains of the movie.
Really? Wow.
The only good parts of those scenes in the movie is the chase scene with the pigs and Kirk and them breaking the Dark Castle towers.
I don't like how they made Wolf more chaotic here. One reason why I liked them in the first movie was because he was a little bit chaotic. That's sure his methods were questionable, but at the end of the day, he was trying to stop an at the time unknown term from closing local businesses. Here they made him dumber, and it shows with his disguises because he wears the same one every time. Plus the fact that he left a 12-year-old girl by herself to be kidnapped is just wrong. Well, what do you tell this movie had studio interference?
In the villain side of the story, the evil witch has Granny and the kids kidnapped in Dark Castle Towers. The witch reveals to Granny that she's the one that sold the super truffle recipe. She asks Granny about it because, like her granddaughter, she used to be a Hood sister, and that only true Hood sisters know the secret ingredient. Obviously, Granny doesn't say shit because, again, she's a true Hood sister, and this makes the witch mad. Then after Granny almost escapes, the kids lead her to a cage, revealing that the witch isn't the real villain, that the real villain is the damn kids. What? Completely terrible origin stories. What happened was the two little shits teamed up with the witch, who was revealed to be Verushka, an ex-sister of the... so they can sell super truffles to very bad and dangerous people so they can get more sweets because these two bitches are poor. At least the witch has a slightly better origin story with her being jealous of Granny since they were little kids training with the Hood sisters. The reason why she stole the recipe is so she could make it and prove to herself that she is better than Granny. How did the Andy Dick Bunny have a better origin story? And from this point on in the movie, Hansel and Gretel are just little annoying shits because Amy Poehler and Bill Hader were probably told to act like little ding-dongs in the playground. Granny is obviously shocked by this because her Hood sister kidnapped her. Then Hansel and Gretel eavesdrops on Red's call with Nicky Flippers, causing them to go ham on the After Ever After agency by literally going ham on them. And this scares Verushka for some reason. I don't know, I guess she's not hardcore enough. And obviously, Wolf and Red break into the tower with Kirk and his band. So Hansel and Gretel had to go back playing the victims so Red, Wolf, and Twitchy wouldn't get suspicious. Then our heroes rescue the kids, with rescue being in air quotes. And shit happens, obviously. Verushka traps Red and she realizes that the kids are evil little ding-dongs. Now that Hansel and Gretel have the secret ingredient, they start massive producing the truffles. Then they eat the truffles because they are little fat shits, and it causes them to grow into giant fat shits. Also, they end up betraying Verushka because they were just using her, so they just leave her with Red and Granny to be eaten by a giant spider as they go around destroying New York. Red apologizes for Granny for saying the secret ingredient out loud, and Granny doesn't give a shit because Red is now a true Hood sister. Then Kirk and the Yodelers show up and untie Red at the end. Kirk and the Yodelers take care of the spider while Red goes to stop the big fat ding-dongs. Then Verushka nearly falls to her death and Granny saves her because Granny Bucket is a true Hood sister. She forgives Verushka because of their sisterhood and that people deserve second chances.
Honestly, if the movie just ended here with Verushka dying, it would have been 10 times better.
The villains here are annoying enough we realize as if this movie had studio interference. Plus, Verushka has an annoying ass voice. Her voice is pretty much Jessie from Toy Story, but if she whined every single time she spoke. The only good parts of those scenes in the movie are Granny because she's Granny Bucky and that she's voiced by Cruella DeVille.
I hope you kids learned a valuable lesson.
What's that smell?
Man, that is strong. You kids feel dizzy.
Kurt goes and fights them because for some reason in the world of Hoodwinked, child cruelty laws don't exist. Then Hansel taunts Red, calling her a little girl, and with Red being a angsty 12-year-old, she tries to beat the shit out of this big ass 6-year-old. That is probably the most fucked up thing I said on this channel. Then Hansel and Gretel get back the truffles, and Wolf works out if they eat more truffles they'll become unstoppable. And Hansel and Gretel, being the little big turds, end up eating all the truffles. And they end up becoming bigger and fatter. I am not kidding, these two fat turds end up becoming big obese shits that are the size of giant beach balls. Wow, what a random thing that's seen to happen in this children's movie, and definitely not someone's weird twisted fantasy. Then they get arrested and probably die off screen due to the amount of calories that the truffles have. And once again, the day is saved, and Wolf and Twitchy go off on their next adventure, hinting at a possible sequel. And there was no sequel. The end.
Yep, that was weird. Very, very weird. Weinstein gave Bill Hader and Amy Poehler diabetes.
The fact that they made Hansel and Gretel into obese beach balls is the weirdest thing that anyone would ever do while making a movie. The first movie's ending was less weird, and it did a good job at setting up future sequels if Hoodwinked 2 didn't kill out the franchise. Just ends with the villains going to jail and the heroes driving up to their next adventure while everyone just stands there trying to take in the fact that those obese beach balls are freaking and that they could have killed them. Comes out a bit generic to me, like a Modern Family Guy episode or something.
Why not?
Before I talk about all the terrible things I hate about this movie, I'm going to talk about the positives because I don't want to be like every other movie under the sun. I like the scenes with the giant characters that I found funny because he's actually one of the only characters I liked. Twitchy was still good despite the fact that he was being slowed down. Nikki Flippers is still Nikki Flippers. Granny is still an edgy badass that she is. The Hood Sister Temple looks nice. The city looks nice. The voice acting was decent. The animation was a whole lot better than the first movie, and that is enough of the positives. This movie has a lot of problems. For example, the story doesn't feel fully realized. Unlike the first movie, I actually forgot parts of the story because some of the shit that happens here is just forgettable. For context, I've been working on this video for like a while, and then when I finally got back around to it, I basically forgot half the movie. I forgot most of the scenes with Red and Wolfrey hid scene. I forgot the singing goat from the first movie was also here. He doesn't do much. He nearly dies every time he's on screen, even though he's always prepared for everything, and he sings a song about him always being prepared for everything. Out and about, nearly getting killed by something. It just doesn't make sense. He's supposed to be prepared for this type of crap. How does this make sense? He's supposed to be prepared. Honestly, if you took those scenes out of the movie, it would still be a terrible movie for many reasons. Like the villains being lame, the soundtrack being forgettable, the jokes being unfunny, Wolf being a dumbass, and Red being an angsty shit. For some reason in this movie, they made her trigger being called a little girl, even though she's 12 years old. It doesn't make sense to me like most of the things that happen in this movie. And the last thing I didn't really like about this movie was the fact that they replaced Anne Hathaway. I'm sure that Aiden Panettiere tried her best, but the script that she was given and her performance just sucked compared to Anne Hathaway. Plus, either way, Anne Hathaway has the better voice, and at that point they could have just casted Tara Strong. This movie is literally bloated with celebrities, so I think audiences wouldn't care. Also, Kirk's new voice actor is the same way.
The production of this movie is just messy and full of drama. Unlike the production of the first movie, Harvey Weinstein was involved from the very beginning, which is bad because he's evil. After the first film released, Corey Edwards confirmed that a sequel was in the works, but Tony Leach himself and his brother, Todd Edwards, would not direct. Instead, they decided to just write for the movie, with Edwards simply wanting to focus on other things, with one of those things being a cancelled Fraggle Rock movie. What the f? At first, Cambar Entertainment was gonna fund the movie independently, with Weinstein simply distributing it. Then they entered a co-financial agreement, probably so Weinstein could have more control over the project. Weinstein brought on Mike Dassa to direct the movie, with this being his directorial debut. And also was involved in some stuff like Looney Tunes Back in Action, Disney films like Tarzan and Atlantis, Space Jam: A New Legacy, and Barnyard. Some pretty decent stuff if you ask me.
But he was also involved in the Postman Pat movie. Well, to be honest, how are you supposed to make this into a movie? He's just a damn mailman!
Corey Edwards was enthusiastic about Dasa's involvement because of his experience working at Disney. Everyone in the main cast of the first movie returned except for, obviously, Anne Hathaway and Jim Belushi. Anne Hathaway did not return because she was tired of playing a little girl character, but the only reason why she did the first movie was for a nice favor for Harvey Weinstein. And I'm just gonna leave it at that. As for Jim Belushi, he never felt comfortable with the accent for Kurt. I guess it was because he tried his best to match the original voice for Kurt, so as a result he didn't get to have fun with the character, and that's not what you would expect from his performance in the first movie. That's how good Belushi was. So they had to recast Red and Kirk with different actors. I haven't seen any movies with Aiden Panettiere, so I can only assume that she was popular at the time, because she was in some popular movies at that point, plus Alpha and Omega. And Martin Short, I guess, was just here because he wanted a foosball table, which would not be a surprise because he was in Santa Claus 3 of all things. The animation this time around was done by Arc Productions, a Canadian studio. Oh my god, they dumped the Philippines. Then in 2010, Cambar Entertainment sued the Weinstein Company for delaying the movie's release without consulting them. For context, the movie was originally supposed to release on January 15, 2010. Then it was delayed to February of that year for some tweets. The lawsuit itself caused them to delay the film's release to April 29, 2011. And insult to injury, there was a Burger King promotion that was supposed to coincide with the movie's release, but because of the delays, released before the movie itself. Revealed in the lawsuit was that the Weinstein Company wasn't really communicating with Cambar since December 2009 about the movie's production and proposed changes that Cambar wanted to put in the movie. I couldn't find anything about the outcome of this lawsuit, so let's just say that Cambar wanted nothing to do with Weinstein after that. And it's unknown what proposed changes that Cambar wanted, but I bet it would have been better than the changes that Weinstein made. Again, the tone of the movie is different from the first, and this could be contributed to Weinstein being a douchebag by letting his company make major changes to the movie's script. And these changes pissed off Corey Edwards. Hell, again, him, his brother, and Tony Leach were rarely involved, so I bet hearing about this lawsuit definitely angered them to some extent. After this movie released, Edwards would go on to write for the show VeggieTales, some VeggieTales direct-to-video films, and he's still making movies with Fearless in 2020 and an untitled Woody Pecker reboot that is in post-production as of writing this video. So now it's safe to say since then that Edwards, his brother, and Tony Leach have learned from their mistakes and stopped working with Weinstein since then. But unfortunately, this would not be the last time that Corey Edwards would work with the Weinstein Company, because him and Tony Leach were involved in the film Escape from Planet Earth as writers and Leach as one of the directors. That film too unfortunately has some behind the scenes drama in it, but that's a story for another video. Yeah, to be honest, this movie is just a mess, and the fact that Weinstein went and screwed over everyone behind the scenes is just sad. I feel like this film had potential, but all that potential was rolled away because the Weinstein Company was being the Weinstein Company, causing the first film, which was a masterpiece, to be forgotten and dismissed by the general public as a Shrek clone. However, that was until the kids that grew up with it revisited it and realized that this shit was underrated and that the sequel was pure dog shit. Yeah, sure, some people don't respect the greatness of Hoodwinked, but at the end of the day, it's a weird and beautiful film that is really funny, which is something I can't say about the second movie.
I apologize for this video coming out much later than initially thought. I was too busy working on other stuff, and there's so many other things I wanted to get out of the way, and also I had to do several rewrites to get this to actually be watchable. After I made the original Hoodwinked video, my style has changed a little bit, and I had to go and rework some things. So if you're wondering why it took this long for the video to come out, that's why. Plus, I have been going through some things. This has been Alberto, and fuck you, Weinstein. Goodbye.